Sports.
Now it's time for Monty in the Morning.
Hey, how the heck are you? It is NFL Draft Eve, Wednesday, April 28th, 2021. Good morning, Jake.
Hello.
Good to see you, my little friend. Hey, did you remember that we're doing an Xbox Series S giveaway? Now, I was corrected on Twitter yesterday. It is Series S. It is not S-Series. We must get the fine minutia details.
Say it right or don't say it at all, you know.
Jerk off. Anyway, the point is, yes, we are giving away an Xbox. And there is no doubt in anybody's mind that you're going to win it. And all you have to do to win this here Xbox Series S is go ahead and hit subscribe right now. And then take a picture of the screen that says you're subscribed to our show. Put it on Twitter. Tag The Monty Show, MONTY The Monty Show, and SLC Supercars. SLC Supercars. That's all you got to do. Tweet at us with the picture, tagging us both, and you're in the contest. As soon as we get to 500 subs, 500 subscribers, we will be giving that Xbox away right here on the show, the very next show. And right now, I have not looked at our subscriber count since yesterday when we were at 404. We're at 454.
Let's go.
46 more to go.
Time's running out, people. Better get in now.
I mean, we've picked up a pretty good amount of subscribers this week. So appreciate everybody who subscribes and watches this show. Sack Shay Jazz says, I'm a nationalist monk on Twitter. I am nationalist monk on Twitter. Okay. Yes, I remember. Jazz Huddle says, goodbye to that 1 seed, but after some research, it could be better for us. Well, we haven't even started talking Jazz yet, and Jazz fans are on watch.
Oh, they know what it is.
Exactly right. Morning, Mirsinski. Sean Mirsinski's already into the show. All right, well, let's get into it. Mike Conley out versus the Sacramento Kings. This is the third show this week I think we're doing.
Yeah.
This is the third show in a row I get to lead by telling you, I told you so. Oh, yeah. I warned you about Mike Conley.
Been warned.
I told you, man. He's old. He's a barnacle. Even when he was young, I think he was born with it, with a pulled hamstring. Mike Conley is out tonight versus Sacramento in what is, by any measure, a must-win game for the Utah Jazz. And very simply, it's must-win because you have a razor-thin 1-game lead over the Phoenix Suns. And if you are tied, the Suns will get the tiebreaker. Oh, by the way, they have the Suns coming up this week. So that's going to be a huge game. We will be at the Vivint on Saturday night.
The
Viv. Taking in the Utah Jazz game against I'm not a Raptors fan at all. I don't know why I said that.
The North.
The great North coming to town. Jake and I will be there. But these are must-win games. You lose this game tonight, and you head to Phoenix potentially tied with those Suns for the top spot in the West, Jake. There's nothing good that comes from that.
Yeah, I think that this is a very straightforward thing, and this is how interesting situations tend to go in life. I mean, Mike Conley's out, Don's out. You're going to have to play more of your young guys, and I think that it's very simple. You're either gonna survive and win this game against the Kings and hope to go into the Suns game up 1 game still, or you're gonna lose this game and you're gonna battle right down to the wire with the Suns. And I think that for this Jazz team, they've endured a lot this season. And right now, I mean, this is a great problem to have. I'd rather be talking about this than being a mediocre-ass team who's trying to be the 5 seed like we were several years ago. So I want to make it clear that they are in a good spot, but at the same time, winning the Western Conference, being the number 1 seed, headed into the postseason, it's priceless. You can't. There's nothing that's going to replace that. So Yeah, it's frustrating, and I wish that Mike Conley was a player that was more durable, but he's not. And the reality is you have to deal with that, and they've been dealing with it for a long time. And the only question at this point, if you're a Jazz fan, is when is Donovan Mitchell coming back? Because there's not really been a clear-cut answer to that question yet.
No, and I think that there is no question that Mike Conley, his biggest loss is on defense. Yes, he gives you incredibly important baskets. I think we saw it the other night in the loss at Minnesota. That right-handed runner in the lane absolutely saved any opportunity they had. Oh, by the way, then he hit a clutch three to give them the lead before Rudy Gobert, and he did not communicate. And D'Lo wound up getting that layup. But the biggest loss to the Jazz and Mike Conley is defense. I mean, you have a guy in Halliburton who is riding a high. I mean, the guy just signed with Nike. He is coming off of two incredible performances. I look at the Sacramento Kings. Harrison Barnes looks like he is questionable. There's a good chance he's going to play tonight. If they're only missing De'Aaron Fox, and again, if Harrison Barnes plays, I think there's a real good chance that the Jazz are going to have to fight for every basket. I think there's a real good chance that this comes down to the last 2-3 possessions of this game. And Jake, if I'm the Jazz, again, I guess I'll ask you point blank, is this a must win? Because I think it is.
Yeah, I completely agree. I do think it is. And I think that, what we need to be looking for tonight in this game is what exactly is the strategy going to be tonight against this Kings team? Because to me, when I look at the Kings, the area of opportunity, if I'm the Utah Jazz, is playing in the paint. I mean, Rashawn Holmes is a nice player and everything. We covered him when he was a Phoenix Sun coming into the league, but certainly Rudy Gobert should be able to handle Rashawn Holmes without too much fight, if we're just being honest. And so, I think back to, and I don't remember the exact game it was. I think it was against the Pacers it was in the first half of the season. There was a game where the Jazz came out and they made it a priority to get Rudy Gobert the ball in the paint and allow him to go to work. And I'd like to see that tonight. I'd like to see them establish a presence in the paint so that as the game wears on, the three-point looks that they're getting are higher quality looks. We can't do this thing where we roll out, we make a bunch of threes early, then we fall off in the second quarter, we fall off in the third quarter, we're down 10 going into the fourth, and we have to reel this thing back in, because that's not where this team can be if they want to win this game. And so, to me, I would be coming out. I would be trying to get Rudy, establishing himself, and then from there, you have to see what the Kings give you. Again, I think you make a great point. If Harrison Barnes plays, that's definitely going to affect what you bring to the table in terms of offense and like what you're trying to do. So to me, again, I would start off by giving it to Rudy, trying to allow him to play some physical basketball down low, and then let's start moving the ball and getting some looks. That's what I think the game plan should be.
Yeah, and again, I think defense, I'm really worried about the Jazz on defense. I mean, I don't know any other way to plainly say it. I look at the Jazz, and their defense is just not very good right now. And it is communication. It is, slipping, rolling under screens. It is, if you look at guys on the perimeter, allowing, filtering guys into the paint, Rudy Gobert is not there. So you're getting layups. There just is a fundamental breakdown in this Utah Jazz defensive schematic right now. And that's not easily fixed, especially when you're asking guys to do things now that they're not used to doing. And you're going to have to do that with Mike Conley out of the lineup. Now who becomes your number one guard? Mm-hmm. Well, it's probably Joe Ingles becomes your number one guard. And now you're looking at heavier minutes for everybody else down the line. And that includes you're going to have to get production out of Ersan Ilyasova tonight.
Yep.
You're going to have to get more points. And here's the real question. You're going to have to get more points and significantly more points out of somebody. Who's got that ceiling? And you know who I'm going to say? It's Bojan Bogdanovic. Mm-hmm. He's got to step up tonight. This is where Bogdanovic has to be huge. And it goes without saying that Rudy, that Jingles, those guys have to play big roles. Jordan Clarkson, we cannot have another, 0 for 36 from 3. The room for error, the margin for error on this Utah Jazz roster, Jake, is gone. And my question is, with Conley out, who do you turn to score points?
Yeah, I think you make a great point that someone like Bogey's going to have to step up tonight. I think that that's just almost assumed, I feel like, and so hopefully he can give you 30 tonight. That's what I'd like to see out of Bogdanovich. Give me 30. Do your thing. That's we need 30 out of him. I look at Joe Ingles, and he's going to be running points tonight, no doubt about it. So for me, I need him to be responsible. I need him to limit the turnovers, and I need him to be putting guys in good spots to get good looks. So for me, Joe Ingles, being that he's going to be on the ball and not getting as many looks, I'd love to see 20 out of him tonight. 15 to 20 points out of Joe Ingles. Give me 7 or 8 assists. That's what I'd like to see out of Joe Ingles. And then I think that the X factor in this game is going to be Oni. I think that he needs to come out here. I think that he needs to have a nice night offensively, meaning he needs to be like 10, maybe 15 points on the top end. But his defense is what really I'm going to be watching tonight, because he's somebody who is actually athletic. He's somebody who's young. He's somebody who's got the legs under him and can come out and hopefully play some serviceable defense. So if they get those 3 guys producing, and Rudy does what Rudy usually does, which is somewhere around 20 and 10, 20 and 15, I think that they'll be okay in this game. But I agree with you. The defensive end is extremely concerning, because they in their starting 5, when they're healthy, they don't have a lot of defense. So when you're down Donovan, you're down Conley, you're having to play rookies, like it's concerning. There's no other way to say it other than it's concerning. I guarantee you tonight, you watch this game, you're going to see the Kings get Rudy Gobert in awkward situations. I guarantee that.
Yeah, and that would be my game plan. I mean, I think you have to minimize Rudy Gobert's impact. They're going to play a smaller lineup. You already know that. I mean, Bagley's not going to play in this game, obviously. I think you're going to be heavy perimeter. I think guys like Buddy Hield and Halliburton, and this is why I say I know it seems like I feel like I've said his name 1,000 times, but Harrison Barnes has to if he plays, I just don't see the Jazz winning this game. If Harrison Barnes plays and is himself, I don't see the Jazz winning this game. I really don't. Forgotten Soul says, who got injured? Mike Conley is out tonight with a tight hamstring. Hello. Why can I not say his name all of a sudden? Sacramento Jazz says Conley aggravated his old injury, so doesn't look good long-term as well. I think the Jazz are tanking again like they did last year, falling from possibly 3rd to 6th seed. Okay, let's not get carried away. Yeah. Their schedule is quite soft. I would imagine that Donovan is back within a week. If Donovan were playing tonight, they're beating the Sacramento Kings.
Right.
The issue with Conley is, and again, not to beat this old dead horse, you can't count on Conley. And you need to count on Mike Conley when your stud, Donovan Mitchell, is not in the lineup. So now Donovan's out, Conley's out, and you're scrambling to try and figure out how you're going to beat the Sacramento Kings. And again, I only point to what's going on in Phoenix tonight. Mm-hmm. The Clippers are in town with a hobbled Paul George and no Kawhi Leonard. I mean, this is a situation where you're in real trouble here if you're the Jazz as far as being the number 1 seed coming out of tonight. In 24 hours, if I had to pin you down in 24 hours, do you believe that the Utah Jazz will still be the number 1 seed in the West?
No, I think they'll be tied. I think they'll be tied, and I think that that's just where it's going to be. I think that the frustrating thing is that the Jazz are, again, the roster's letting them down. And I know that we always talk about this, and I hate talking about it. It's not fun for me to talk about, but this is what happens when you get injured and you don't add to your roster. And, you look at the Nuggets. The Nuggets suffer the Jamal Murray season-ending, gnarly injury, demoralizing for their team, but somehow they're surviving because they went out and added somebody. And so that's why I say I'm looking at all these teams who are now signing their 10-day guys, their 10-day contract guys to these season-long deals, and I'm like, man, like, you couldn't have gone out and got, Hollis Jefferson. You couldn't have gone out and got, like,
by the way,
yeah,
not being a jerk about it.
Yeah.
I told you Mike James would have been a perfect fit on this team.
Great example.
I watched just about every minute of that Nets game last night. And Mike James is making a real contribution to that club. And Mike is a guy that everybody in our Phoenix viewership knows Mike. He played for the Suns for a short stint. He is a European League MVP. He is one of the best players in Europe by far. And now he winds up on a team like the Brooklyn Nets. And what's he doing? He's hitting threes. He's playing tenacious defense. He made 3-4 extra passes last night that led to open looks for threes. And it was the difference it going into the half with the Nets having the lead. And I look at the couple of open looks he got for Joe Harris. That's because he was unselfish and made the extra pass. The Jazz need that guy. And they're not aggressive in the trade market. They're not aggressive in the free agent market. And so now you're going to eat the soup that you made because all you have is the ingredients you've had for the entire year. You're not evolving. You're not changing. You're not growing. You're not doing everything, in my opinion, that you can do to win the Western Conference, have home court advantage throughout, which I think is an absolute must. For the Jazz to win an NBA championship, they must have the number one seed. It's frustrating to me that here we are sitting here at the end of April with an injury to Mike Conley that is not a surprise. It is not shocking. You knew this was coming. Mike Conley misses time every year. Last year it was Bojan Bogdanovic. This year now is it going to be Mike Conley? I don't know. But you've done nothing to backstock your depth. And that to me is the biggest reason that the Jazz will not, if they do not win the number one seed in the West, and I think they will, if they do not win the number one seed in the West, it will because they did not backfill the roster.
Yeah, and the two guys you did sign, one of them is contributing. Ersan is showing you he can give you some run, but the problem is that he does that one night, then he's got to take the next night off. So the point here is that right now the momentum is in the Suns' favor. There's no doubt about that. That's just where it's at. And I think the bottom line is, let's say the Jazz lose this game tonight. The Suns beat the Clippers. You're level heading into Friday, and you have an absolute smackdown to decide who's going to lead you heading into the last 10 to 12 games. That to me, if you're the Jazz, is terrifying because for the first time, and I think there's real credence to this, for the first time as a team this year, you're playing from behind. You've been looking down on this stack the whole year, and now right here at the end, you're going to be looking up at somebody. That to me is difficult mentally.
I don't think it ever gets there.
I hope not.
I think they may lose tonight, and we've seen that the Phoenix Suns have a propensity to lose games they should win. Mm-hmm. They should beat the Clippers tonight in Phoenix. I think they may be tied with Phoenix after tonight. And I think if that's the case, I think that's a death knell for the LA Clippers. But again, I just go back to the schedule. You look at the Phoenix Suns schedule, exponentially more difficult than it is for the Utah Jazz.
Yeah.
And I fall back on that. I think the Jazz are, when they get their guys back, when you get Donovan Mitchell back, and hopefully this is just a maintenance night for Mike Conley. They're not really saying much about the injury.
Be terrified about that, bro.
Hopefully it is a maintenance night for Mike, and everybody's back. It'd be awesome if Saturday night in a back-to-back, Mike Conley's ready to go. And then you would think in the next few days and the next few games, you're going to get Spida Mitchell back. Mm-hmm. You would hope that that's the way that it goes. Mina Gray says, good evening from the Philippines. Good evening to you, my friends. Gabe Ledley says, morning, fellas, 46 to go. Let's get it. Yeah, hey, appreciate you, Gabe Ledley. 46 subscribers left to go to 500.
Insane.
It's been, in the last week, we've picked up a ton.
Yeah.
And we really appreciate that. Now, let's not kid ourselves. We bribed a lot of you to subscribe with an Xbox giveaway, which I would say, again, go ahead and hit subscribe. Take a photo that you're subscribed to our channel and tweet at us, The Monty Show, MONTY, The Monty Show, and SLC Supercars. Subscribe and you're in. And when we get that 500 subscriber, we will give away this Xbox live right here on the show. So we are really looking forward to that. Jameson says, don't forget the Kings are no longer a laydown. Well, I don't think anybody thinks the Kings are a laydown. Luke Walton is a disappointment as a coach. I mean, I think most people would agree with me on that. but his players play hard for him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there is little doubt about that. Luke has been able to get his guys playing with intensity.
Yeah.
And I still think Halliburton's going to be one of the best players to come out of this draft year. And I just look at the way, that they go about their business. The Sacramento Kings are not an easy team to play. And if you ask Dallas from the other night, they beat Dallas 113-106, who, by the way, thanks to your guy Curry for showing up with his Golden State Warriors. They got boat raced,
dude,
last night by the Mavs.
That was embarrassing by any standard.
Yeah, but Rashawn Holmes the other night, 24 points, 6 boards, 6 of 6 from the free throw line. Halliburton had 14 and 10 dimes, mind you, 5 rebounds. Buddy Hield, 4 of 7 from 3, 16 points, 5 boards, 5 dimes. So they're getting these big contributions from everybody.
Yeah.
And they're getting production off their bench. I just think they're an incredibly difficult matchup for anybody.
Yeah.
And then when you're shorthanded with your 2 best offensive players, because let's be honest, right? Donovan Mitchell's your best offensive player.
He's your best player all around. No doubt about it.
Who's your number 2?
I don't have a number 2.
It's Mike Conley. It is Mike Conley. There's no doubt. Did he not show you enough against Minnesota that he's still got a lot left in the tank?
He can shoot. But when I'm talking about offensive options, I'm not. This team doesn't need another shooter. This team needs more athleticism, and Mike Conley is not athleticism. He's shooting. He's a savvy player. He knows how to play off the pick and roll. And so I'm not saying he's a bad player, but when you ask me, hey, who's the number 2 option on this team? Well, I don't know. It changes every given night. If Bogdanovich is dropping a 30-piece, he's my number 2 option.
A 30-piece.
If the minivan comes off the bench for 15,
it's the minivan.
It just really depends. Yeah, I'm being an a-hole about that. I know.
He's a crossover SUV, please.
Listen, on paper, yes, Mike Conley's your number 2 option, but I'm telling you that it depends on the night because there are nights where he can't make anything.
Williams says, longtime listener, I still think you guys are negative and you hate the Jazz, but you're not wrong.
So wait, are we negative and hate the Jazz?
Do we hate the Jazz? And I love this guy because you'll notice that we've largely stopped getting, hey, do you guys even watch games? Do you guys even care? That guy's gone away now. Now it's, wow, you guys are just naysayers. You're negative.
But you're right.
But you're not wrong. Right? And that's the thing. We have the luxury. Somebody on YouTube yesterday, I can't remember who it was, asked us, it said, are you guys Jazz fans? And I said, Jazz fans, no. Impartial commenters, yes. We have the luxury of being unbiased because we're not Jazz fans. I don't necessarily have a number 1 team in the NBA.
Yeah.
Like you are slurpdicious on the Golden State Warriors. I thought it was funny that Jace sent you a meme of slurping from his Xbox. Fortniting.
Yeah.
But you're all about Golden State and now I guess Brooklyn because of Kevin Durant. My favorite player is Devin Booker. If I had, I want to say I'm a Chicago Bulls fan, and once Jerry Reinsdorf is no longer amongst the living, I probably will be a Bulls fan again. I wish you a long, healthy life, sir.
Yeah.
But if you're tying me down to a team, it's probably the Lakers more than anything else.
Yeah.
Having been a lifelong Laker fan and covered that team. But I'm a fan of guys, players. I'm not a fan of teams.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, no, I don't have to. I love watching Donovan Mitchell play. I thoroughly enjoy the way the Jazz play when they're playing well. They are miserable to watch when they are playing bad.
Yeah.
Like when the Brooklyn Nets are playing terrible basketball, I'm still getting, Kyrie dropping fools. Or I'm getting, or I'm still getting KD hitting impossible fadeaway shots. Like there's something to watch there.
Yeah.
When the Jazz are bad, they're a nothing sandwich. Like there's nothing there.
When the Jazz are bad, the game turns into a lot of transition basketball because bad Jazz basketball is a lot of bricks from 3. And all that means is long rebounds.
Yep, totally agree. Kevin says, subscribe to you guys several months ago when you made the switch from Periscope. Appreciate what you do every day. The Jazz are done without Donovan. That's really all you need to say. But see, I don't think they're done without Donovan.
What is that? What does that look like, though? Does done mean that that they are like? Does Dunn mean that they're a one and done team in the postseason? Does that mean that they're just simply not going to be the 1 seed? Like, what does that mean?
I think people are seeing what it's like without Donovan Mitchell, and they're convinced that this team is built around him. And how long have I been saying that it's Don and everybody else?
Only for months now.
Right? But the point is, I don't think they're done without Don. What I think is their margin for error goes away without Donovan Mitchell hitting critical threes out of the corner or trying to dunk on somebody and getting fouled. You see in the Minnesota losses, they weren't blown out. It was a bad decision here. Lack of communication there. Bricks from Jordan Clarkson being selfish and being a black hole and not passing the basketball. That's why they lost. If Donovan Mitchell plays, I don't know that it fixes that final possession where D'Lo got that layup. I don't know. If
Donovan's not saving that.
Donovan's not saving that. Now, here's the other thing that pisses me off about the Jazz, even when Donovan does play. He should take the last shot every single time. I don't know that he would have been, even the play would have been drawn for him to get the last shot. Because you see in a lot of critical situations, the ball doesn't go to Donovan Mitchell. Mm-hmm. Well, and it's infuriating.
Yeah, well, I think that a lot of defenses are taking him away as an option. That's the thing. I think that on final possessions, the defense is taking Donovan Mitchell away as an option. And so then it's like, all right, well, we're going to go to Mike Conley and let him shoot that top of the key jumper, and I think that's what you saw. And so I don't know, man. I think, the one thing that we can say about Donovan is that if Donovan had played in that second Minnesota game, they wouldn't have been in that position at the end of the game. Eugene, I can say that.
Yep. Eugene 12 says, without Mitchell, we're toast. The system works, but Donovan finishes games, period. The Jazz need to start building a statue for Joe Ingles right next to Stockton and Malone. Love the show, guys. I don't know if I'd be building statues. And by the way, I left the camera on me, but that's okay because I'm better looking. I don't know that I would say that they need to start building statues.
Yeah.
But Joe Ingles is a critical player to this team. We talk about this, I feel like, again, this is one of those things we talk about a lot. Point jingles is going to happen tonight. I mean, I don't see any other way. How do you replace Mike Conley? And the answer is you don't.
No, you don't.
Right? I mean, are you going to start Jordan Clarkson? I would imagine so, because what other choice do you have? The crossover SUV, like VW bug van isn't, Niang is
fucking real.
Yeah, it's not real. It's not real. George Niang is not a starter. Yeah. He's the guy that comes in with a chip on his shoulder and drops 3 balls. That's George Niang's job. Jordan Clarkson has to start for this team.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. I mean, my guess is you're going Rudy, Bogey.
Yeah.
Ingles.
Yeah.
Clarkson.
Yeah.
And Oni. That's going to be tough to beat the Sacramento Kings with.
The question we were really talking about here is how do you replace depth that you don't have? And you don't. That's as simple as that. You cannot make up what you don't have. So, like, you can't, when you're disappointed that, Jordan Clarkson's got to play 30 minutes tonight, Oni's got to play 30 minutes tonight, like, when you're disappointed by that and you feel like that's letting you down, like, you can't replace not making moves. Like, you can't. And that really, don't be frustrated by the result, Jazz fans. Don't be frustrated by the result. Be frustrated by the lack of action. That's what you should be frustrated with.
We forgot somebody.
Oh, boy.
Royce O'Neal.
Royce.
Marty says, how do you guys leave out Royce O'Neal? Because he's very forgettable. What do you mean, how do I leave him out? So, yes, you're correct.
But here's the thing.
Rudy, Bogey, Jingles, Royce.
Why did we forget about Royce?
Because the Jazz forget about Royce.
Yeah, because Royce O'Neal is a defensive-minded player. And frankly, he gets subbed a lot. He does play a lot of minutes. He does. There's a reason that he plays a lot of minutes. But tonight, when you're playing a modified starting 5, don't be surprised if there are a lot of substitutions tonight and a lot of aggressiveness with that.
Yeah, and I think Brandon Whiteside makes a good point. Well, because we have a bunch of players getting minutes that were undrafted or late picks, they're developing. Ingles undrafted, O'Neal undrafted, Niang from the G League. Yeah, but Jingles and Royce O'Neal are not developing.
But how long are we going to be this team? How long are the Utah Jazz going to be that team?
And by the way, how long are the Jazz going to be terrible in the draft?
How long are the Utah Jazz, going to be a team that is trying to battle behemoths in LA by playing undrafted nobodies who they have to develop? That's not what the mentality should be anymore. You are not an average ass team anymore. You allegedly are the best team in the league. And the problem is, and this is really brass tacks right here, the problem is you've made your name off of a system that you're playing. You're playing a team brand of basketball that has gotten you here. The problem is that elite basketball talent blows right through the system because they can do things that you cannot. And that's what we're going to see. That's coming, I'm telling you.
Yeah, Marcus wants to know if we gave away the Xbox yet. No. It's sitting right here. That'll be when we get to 500 subscribers, so go ahead and hit subscribe. Hey, if you're watching this video, please give us a thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. Prediction time for tonight. I'm going to go with the Jazz to win this game. I think this is a night when big players have to play big. And I know that sounds cliche, but it's true. I think you're going to get a big performance out of Rudy. I think they're going to force the basketball to him, and I think they should. I think you're going to see a lot of pick and roll, and somebody, I want to say it was James Knight, asked why the Jazz don't run more pick and roll with Jingles. I think you have to tonight. I think you're going to see a lot more of the ball in Rudy Gobert's hands, and I have to believe that goes well because the Kings are not a big team, and I think that Quinn Snyder knows that, and I think that's why you're going to see Rudy a lot more in the offense. And I think the bigger question without Mitchell and without Conley is how do they defend a young athletic Kings perimeter? And the answer is I don't know. I don't know. But offensively, I think big nights from Rudy Gobert, and you're going to have Gobert, Conley, and Jingles step up and have 20-point nights each at least. That's going to have to happen.
So you said Conley. So he obviously
no, Clarkson.
You said Conley.
Ingles and Joe Ingles, Jordan Clarkson, and Rudy Gobert.
Yeah.
All have to have 20-point nights.
Yeah.
That gets you to 60. I think if you look at Bogey, I think you're going to have
it. He needs 30.
He's got to have. But he's not a 30-point guy right now. I mean, he get one game of 30 points doesn't make you a 30-point guy.
But what I'm saying is he's capable of that, and I'd like to see that out of him because he's going to get looks.
I think the perimeter guys are too athletic for him. And this is why he was so bad against Minnesota in Minnesota. Yeah. Because they took his space away. And that's what worries me about Bogey, is that I just don't think he can compete against younger athletic teams. Marcus also says, pick your best starting five in the NBA. Tell me that Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley aren't on that team. Well, Donovan Mitchell, arguably, Mike Conley's not in anybody's. There is not a top team in this league that Mike Conley has to be on. Yeah. He isn't going to start for Brooklyn. Like the Knicks, he could be a great veteran leader for them, but they're playing so well with their youth. Why would you do that? He would not start in Phoenix. He would not. I mean, he wouldn't start for the Clippers. Mike Conley's a good player. He's a good player. He's older. He's making a crap ton of money, and you cannot count on Mike Conley to be healthy. Now, Donovan Mitchell, I don't know a team that's not trying to get Donovan Mitchell to be their starting two guard. Yeah. Like I don't know who that is. Problem. Yeah. I mean, he is amazing. Donovan Mitchell is an all-star. He should be all-world. He's not going to be all-NBA because at the very tippy top of this league, that is a very slim list. But I think when you talk about Donovan Mitchell in the next 5 years, he's going to compete and he may even win an MVP award. Donovan Mitchell can start for any team in this league and they'd be better because of it. Agreed. I don't think there's any question about that. James Knight says, can someone tell Clarkson he can penetrate and kick occasionally? That part of their game without Mike Conley is zero. And it's a huge problem. Yeah. I wonder, because Oni's gotten very comfortable standing in the corner, I wonder, I've got to believe that they're developing a drive and kick. You have to, in this day and age of the NBA, especially against zones, and I got to think Sacramento's going to zone up the Kings, by the way, or Sacramento's going to zone up the Jazz at times. you have to have a drive and kick guy. And I wonder, is that Oni? I think James Knight's right on. Jordan Clarkson is the guy that should be driving and kicking.
Yeah.
I mean, that's his skill set. But he is, look, I love Jordan Clarkson. I think he's probably going to win the Sixth Man of the Year. He's a black hole. Like, the ball does not come out. You give Jordan Clarkson the ball, he's shooting it, period, or turning it over. That's the bad Jordan Clarkson we've seen over the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
He at some point has to realize, hey, I've got elite three-point shooters just about at every other spot on the floor where I can drive, with the exception of Rudy Gobert, who on the floor with you cannot hit a three? Bogey, Jingles, Oni, Royce certainly, Niang certainly, drive and kick occasionally. James Knight, you're exactly right about that. Sean says, if you're a team in the position of the Jazz, you need to have a star player, and they just don't have them. They have no depth. And again, I'm not trying to be a jerk about this. We've talked about this. There is this narrative that the Utah Jazz have elite depth. They don't. And I'm sorry to tell you that, and I know that that's a contentious point in a conversation piece. The Utah Jazz do not have elite depth. Even when they're 100%, their depth is not elite. They have role players. Jordan Clarkson showed us very succinctly that when Jordan Clarkson is hot, he's not a depth guy. He's a starter in this league. But when Jordan Clarkson's bad, now you know why he's not a Laker. I mean, the guy is not again, Mike James. Mike James is great depth, professional, makes the extra pass, understands his job is not to score 20 points. Occasionally, that extra pass out of Jordan Clarkson would be awfully nice.
Yep.
And again, just because you're not the one making the three doesn't mean that the three doesn't need to go in, right? So you kicking it to Joe Ingles for him to hit a three is just as good as you hitting a three. Unless in your head, you're the one who thinks you're the only one that can hit that three.
Yep.
So it's a dangerous game.
And that's why I say the Utah Jazz have built this season and accomplished these things based on a system that they played when they were 100% healthy. And they're playing that system because they know they don't have the talent, the raw talent that other teams have, the raw athleticism that other teams have. And so that's why I think you can go up and down this roster and you can look at every guy with the exception of Don, because Don can do things that nobody else on this team can do.
Yes.
Every other player, you can go up and down this roster and you can say, okay, this guy can do this, that guy can do that. But the problem is they don't have, the Clippers have 2 Donovan Mitchells, the Nets have 3 Donovan Mitchells, the Lakers have 2 Donovan Mitchells. Like, the Jazz only have 1 Donovan Mitchell. That's the problem. And then you didn't do anything to supplement the team, so you didn't get that infusion of energy. You didn't get that infusion of new skill set. Like, that's why it's like, on a surface level, it's always a problem not to add talent. But when you start comparing yourself to the elite teams in the league, even the Suns, they have more depth than you, better depth than you, in my opinion. So that's why this whole idea that, oh, they have elite depth and they're going to go out and they're going to run these teams down and they're just going to shoot 45% from 3 in the postseason and go and win a championship, that's fairyland, man. That's just not realistic. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, it'll certainly be interesting to see. So, again, predictions tonight, I'm going to take the Jazz to win. I think they get 3 20-point performers. I think they get double digits out of Bojan. And then we'll see what happens defensively.
Yeah,
I am not at all. Please don't go bet your mortgage payment on this. But I am not at all confident. I think the Jazz will win. I think this is going to be one of those 125, 130, 125, 130, 127 games.
Yeah, here's what I'm concerned about tonight is the turnovers for the Jazz. You were turning it over a lot when you had your starters on the floor. Now you don't have your starters on the floor. I think tonight you're going to see 15 turnovers out of this team, and I think that that's going to kill them. I think this is going to be a really, really tight game that they're going to be in, and I think that they do win the game by 1 possession.
It's going to be tight. I mean, it. So you're really going?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Yep. Because I don't think that the young guys are disciplined. I haven't seen discipline out of the guys coming off the bench. And
all right, so where do you
in late game situations, if this is a I think they'll come out and they'll knock down a bunch of shots, but then I think what's going to happen is the Kings are going to lock down defensively and they're going to start pushing out on the three. and that's really going to slow the
Well,
Jazz
that's
down.
the blueprint. I mean,
Yeah,
there's no doubt.
so that's going to slow the Jazz down, and inevitably, what's going to happen is it's going to be really simple. Guys like Jordan Clarkson are going to come in and they're going to have a huge night, or they're going to be nobodies. It's very simple. There is no middle ground. There is no, well, I gave you 10 points and had a decent little night. No, you're either going to give me 25 or you're going to give me like 5 and 1 assist. I mean, that's who we're talking about here. So my point is tonight. What I'm telling you to watch for in this game, watch for turnover numbers for the Jazz. Watch what kind of game that they're playing.
Furthermore, watch points in the paint.
Yeah.
Who wins the points in the paint battle? I think that'll determine it. Brandon Whiteside says Suns are a perennial lotto team. Of course they have more depth. Oh, I don't think there's any question the Suns have more depth. Yeah, and by the way, let's not forget they're missing. I mean, I think they have 3 guys that don't have ankles anymore.
Hold on. Wait. So on one hand, we're going to say the Suns are a perennial lotto team, and that's why they have more depth. But on the other hand, we're just going to forget about all the draft picks the Jazz have missed on? Come on,
I was trying not to go back and rip the Jazz for being terrible in the draft.
Don't try to sit here and try to sit here and make excuses for the Utah Jazz. They have missed in the draft consistently. They haven't done anything in the free agent market. They haven't made any kind of trade. So let's not sit here and say that, well, the Suns have better depth because they've been an awful team, and that's somehow an advantage. That's just not going to be good.
Same roster it's been for a couple of seasons.
Yeah.
Without Jay Crowder and Dario Saric, who both have ankle injuries, I mean, they beat the Knicks 118-110 because they're getting contributions out of Torrey Craig, Mikal Bridges. You're getting contributions. They're finding a way. Frank Kaminsky hit 2 massive free throws in that game.
Mm-hmm.
You look at Cam Johnson. You want to talk about draft depth? Cam Johnson's a quality player for them. He's a guy that you can now rely on to hit corner and wing threes. He's a guy that they run plays to make sure they get a reverse action so that he gets a look from 3.
Yeah.
Like he's a guy that you've built and developed. I look at Payne. Payne is a guy that they've turned into a player who has bounced around this league, and he's giving them double digits in the Garden the other night. Like I look at Carter, like they're getting development out of their coaching staff, who's making these guys better. They're buying into a system. I look at the difference between that and the Jazz. The Jazz don't have a Cam Johnson that they've drafted and developed.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have that guy.
Yep.
And when you have the depth that the Jazz have, that's where you run into problems. Because when you lose 2 starters or you lose 2 key contributors, Jay Crowder and Dario Saric, who do you turn to? Well, you turn to Cam Johnson, and you turn to Torrey Craig, and you turn to Frank Kaminsky's not going to give you 10 points, probably. He's not going to give you, what are you going to play him, 15 minutes, maybe? And that's only because you have to.
Yep.
But he's going to pick up fouls, and he's going to make free throws.
Mm-hmm.
And if I said to you, who coming off the bench in Utah are you buying with Conley and Spider out? Who are you buying? George Niang is who you're buying. That's your guy.
Yes.
Like you can't count on Oni right now. Like there's no there. So anyway, we could go on about this. I don't know. Surely the Jazz get the ball inside tonight. They can't play Russian roulette with the 3 ball again, can they? Well, that's who they are.
That's what they do every night.
That's
this
who
is
they
what
are.
we talk about every day on the show, man. Are you
serious?
Like they took, what was it, 57 threes the other night?
That's who this team is.
By the way, they took 57 threes and passed on like 10 more 3-point shots that they could have taken.
And what was funny is the Minnesota announcers are like, boy, this team really falls in love with the 3. What team have you been looking at, bro? Like, that's who the Jazz are. Ty Johnson says Cam Johnson could be a starter. This team is so deep. Cam Johnson could start on a lot of teams in this league. I mean, bottom of the table, certainly he could. If you go midway down, I mean, he would start in Charlotte, Houston, Sacramento. I mean, there's a lot of places he'd start. Certainly Minnesota. Yeah, I mean, listen, Cam Johnson's a big body that's got long arms and legs, and he hits threes. Where is he not going to have a place to play?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. No. Okay, so Marcus is going in on how the Jazz have used their draft picks to create other players like Donovan Mitchell. Okay, I agree with that. But what did you turn your triumvirate of Enes Kanter, Gordon Hayward, and Derek Favors into? Not much. Like you have, there are so many guys you've missed on. Sure, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not going down the draft rabbit hole with the Jazz. We've done that on this. I'm not doing it. Anyway, I'm taking the Jazz to win tonight. I'm taking the Suns to win tonight, and then I'm just going to sit back and I cannot wait for Friday night. Suns, Jazz, that's Friday night in Phoenix, I believe.
Yes.
I cannot wait for that game. And then we'll be in the building on Saturday night. By the way, if you're going to the Jazz game Saturday night, hit me up on Twitter. Absolutely, I'd be happy to. I guess I shouldn't. I'd be happy to elbow bump and say hello. Make sure you do that. Mina Gray says, Sakshay Jazz, what are you talking about, huh? I don't know. He must have said something. I have no idea. Mina Gray is not happy listening to you. Sure she is. Everybody is. James Knight says, a case of 4X on Friday night's game, Monty. Yes.
Dude.
Yes. Absolutely. You would. So, James.
Oh, James is in Australia.
Yes.
Huh? Yeah.
Yes.
Let's go, James.
4X gold, my friend.
Baby.
And it's the right time of year. Well, actually, end of summer is the best time of year for 4X gold.
Yeah. Still better than any American beer.
The best brewery tour we've ever done. We drank a lot of 4X when we were in Brisbane. Oh, my God. I can't wait to get back to Australia. All right. Hit subscribe. Take a picture that you're subscribed to us. Tweet at us, The Monty Show, MONTY, The Monty Show, and at SLC Supercars. That's how you win this Xbox Series S. Give us a thumbs up on this video right now, please. That also helps the channel grow. We are currently at 454 subscribers on this channel. So as soon as we get to 546 more, we're giving this Xbox away. All right, let's switch gears and talk NFL draft. The San Francisco 49ers are drafting number 3, and I think we all realize now at this point they're going to draft a quarterback, and it's going to be Mac Jones. There have been a lot of rumors. There have been a lot of ESPN Adam Schefter reports about Jimmy Garoppolo, the current starting quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers. My belief is if they trade Jimmy Garoppolo, you know they are drafting and starting Mac Jones. This team is at a critical tipping point. If you're the San Francisco 49ers, you're at a point where you're either going to decide to contend with teams like the LA Rams, who went out and got Matthew Stafford, Russell Wilson in Seattle. Russell Wilson is still a Seattle Seahawk. You have, obviously, little Kyler verticality in Arizona with how good they are. I think they are a 10-win team this year. The San Francisco 49ers have a decision to make. They know that Jimmy Garoppolo is not their quarterback of the future. They know that. So they're going to draft at number 3. They gave up a ton to get up there. Jake, I am firmly the believer if they trade Jimmy Garoppolo, there's no other route to go other than Alabama quarterback Mac Jones.
Yeah, I think first of all, moving up to number 3 essentially solidifies the fact that you're trading Jimmy G. I mean, you don't take that aggressive of a stance and that aggressive of a strategy to go and draft a quarterback if you're keeping Jimmy G on the roster. That just I just can't. That doesn't compute for me.
Well, think through that. But if you keep Jimmy Garoppolo on the roster, you're drafting a quarterback. There is no doubt in my mind at number 3, this team, the San Francisco 49ers, is drafting a quarterback.
Yeah, I don't think that's in question.
The question is, which one? If you draft Trey Lance, you cannot start him right now. He's not ready to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. And I think you look at his weaknesses. The number one thing that stands out to me about Trey Lance is as soon as he sees his number one option is not there, he's gone. He's going to run. And in the NFL, we've seen that is a recipe for injury and disaster, and it's inefficient, and it's not going to win you games in the NFL. Right now, today, Trey Lance can't make a 3-read throw. He's not going to find his 3rd, 4th option. He's not going to do that. He's going to look right at his number 1, and he's either going to throw it or he's going to run. You can't do that in the NFL. So I don't think you can trade Jimmy Garoppolo and then draft Trey Lance. It just doesn't make a lot of sense based on where this team is with their defense. I think their defense can compete. I think they've got to bolster some skill position depth, I think. But overall, this 49er team should win or be in position to win just about every game they play in, unless you draft Trey Lance and start him at quarterback.
Yeah, I think that there's more to the Trey Lance story than everybody gives him credit for, though. I think that, yeah, he has very little exposure in college. Yes, he is a running quarterback in college, but I also think there's this side of Trey Lance that has been talked about a little bit, which is that he's a really smart guy. He's not one of these guys that's just an athlete at the position. That is what he showed in college. He showed you he can do that, but I also think that he's somebody who you could really develop and turn into something special. And I think that, yeah, I don't think that you're wrong. I think that, it is definitely risky to let's say that they do trade Jimmy G, and let's say that they were to draft Trey Lance. Yeah, that is a huge risk. There's no doubt. That's a huge risk as a team that is trying to compete for a Super Bowl. You can't. It's not logical to take that risk. But what I'm saying is that this league is trending more towards guys who can move around in the pocket a little bit, and who can create. And I think that, to me, Mac Jones, I like him. He's going to be a quality guy. I just don't think that he's athletic enough to be a long-term successful quarterback, but that's just me.
Yeah, and I think the knock on Mac Jones is always going to be arm strength, top of the draft arm strength, and his ability to run, which doesn't seem to be prolific. He is a stand in the pocket, deliver the football quarterback, and I wonder how much of this is a sliding scale, because obviously if you go to Trey Lance, this is a guy that's got 300 reps total in college. That's it. He would be, I think ESPN had a stat today, that'd be the fewest reps from a starting quarterback. I think it's 318 reps total in college, would be the least reps by a quarterback being drafted in 40 years. And that's because guys are not experienced. They haven't seen defense. And the other thing is, and I know that it's something that probably frustrates people, but where did Trey Lance play football? Well, he didn't play at Alabama. He didn't play in the Big Ten. Like, he played at North Dakota State, which is a small school where you're not seeing a high caliber of opponent. So whereas Justin Fields, who, by the way, it should be said, I think Justin Fields is the best pick. If I'm the 49ers, I'd probably be taking Justin Fields. But my feeling is they're going Mac Jones. Justin Fields is the right pick there. Huge arm, smart guy, reads the field well, unloads the football, runs well. My only question on Justin Fields is his health and his durability. Your best ability is your availability. And Justin Fields has battled injuries throughout his college career. That always worries me. But when I look at where the 49ers are, I don't think there's any question they're going to take Mac Jones.
It's the safe pick. It's the reliable pick. But what I'm telling you is that Mac Jones is not taking him to a Super Bowl. Mac Jones is not. I don't believe that Mac Jones, if you start him day one, is going to be, sliced bread right out the gate, the way like a Herbert was or a Joe Burrow was before the gnarly injury. I don't think that that's who Mac Jones is, but maybe I'm wrong. I just feel like this league is trending towards guys who, yes, are cerebral, who, yes, can read a defense and make a throw and work through the progression, but also can move a little bit. My biggest concern with Mac Jones is the fact that he had elite protection at Alabama and never had to worry about being pressured. And in the NFL, that's just not the case. Even if you have the best offensive line, you're still going to get some pressure. And so that concerns me.
Yeah, and I think what Mac Jones showed you is he is precise with the football. He has there were a lot of people trying to say he's got the Alex Smith. He doesn't have an Alex Smith arm. He's got a better arm than Alex had, and he's accurate with it. I think when you look at the quarterbacks who have come out lately, I mean, if you look at Justin Herbert, that's not a guy that's a run-first guy. If you look at Joe Burrow is a pocket passer. And certainly the exploits of a guy named Tom Brady, who has never been a running quarterback in his life, those guys can succeed in the NFL. It's guys like Lamar Jackson, who, by the way, and I know they will, the Ravens still have not picked up his fifth-year option, by the way. They will. There's no question about that. But you're leaving the door open to be questioned about what you're doing with your quarterback. And if that's where you are in the NFL, you're not going to win. If the 49ers are truly committed to winning, they would keep Jimmy Garoppolo and they would draft whatever quarterback they think is the best long-term fit. Maybe that's Trey Lance. People say he's got the best football IQ in the draft of any quarterback. Hey, that's awesome. If you can sit him for a year behind Jimmy Garoppolo, that's even better.
That's ideal.
Yeah, hey, if that's your plan, okay, cool. Everybody now thinks they're going to trade Jimmy Garoppolo. And is that back to the Patriots? Maybe. Are the Patriots going to move up and draft? Maybe. I don't know. But what I do know is that Mac Jones, if you're going to draft a quarterback to start, you cannot make that Trey Lance. It has to be Mac Jones.
I would agree with that.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
It just has to be.
If that's the route you're going, Trey Lance is not the smart pick.
Yep. No doubt about it. Ty Johnson says NFC West has 4 10-plus win teams. Yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder what the chemistry in Seattle is like, though. Because I look at this situation with Russell Wilson. This is Russell Wilson's team. Well, until you started talking about him demanding a trade and not taking any of his advice, ignoring his opinion, and going around and doing whatever he wanted you not to do. Now all of a sudden you look like an organization that doesn't want Russell Wilson as the face of their team anymore. Then you refuse to trade him because he would have crippled your salary cap. Well, now you're in a no-win situation. And we know that when it comes to quarterbacks in this league, usually half the locker room's with them and half's against them. And when you ask and when you have a divided locker room, you're not going to win games. So I think there's some lingering chemistry questions about the Seattle Seahawks. I think this is the Rams division to lose. And I think it's really interesting what you said in our pre-show meeting. You mentioned Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to tee you up to say the same thing again.
Uh-huh.
What did you say about Matthew Stafford before the show in our pre-show meeting?
That I think that the Rams are that was a great move by them, and I think that Matthew Stafford still has to show us that he can go out and do it. I mean, he's been playing on a bad team for a long time and taking a beating for a long time. So right now with the Rams, you're looking at a straight up a potential Super Bowl run, assuming that good old Matt Stafford, who's been beat to hell the last 10 years, can stay healthy and can still do him. I mean that should be scary to the rest of this division. Matt Stafford can be better than Kyler Murray. Matt Stafford can be better than Russell Wilson. Like, that's the kind of production we're talking about. It's just a matter of if he can stay healthy and if he can do it. So to me, the Rams are a scary team if you're that division, and really if you're the rest of the league, because now they actually have somebody driving the offense who's capable. And I think the last thing I'd say about that is if you're Jared Goff, you should be worried, because if homie comes in and takes them to a Super Bowl year one, you're gonna look really bad.
Yeah, Tatum says, first time I've ever seen you guys. Glad to have found the show. Matthew Stafford is not a durability question. He always plays hurt. It's a question of who's going to run the football for the Rams. Well, I mean, the Rams made a very clear delineation that they were going to be a throwing team first. And what we've seen is that you go and get Matt Stafford, you're not going to worry as much about the running back as you are about the wide receivers. Mm-hmm. And, I wouldn't worry about the running game. Listen, I think, if you look at some of the mistakes that Jared Goff made, I think you realize very quickly that he is a bust. Mm-hmm. And I try not to say that anymore. I had a conversation on ESPN Radio with Ryan Leaf about this, because Ryan Leaf is ultimately referred to as the bust.
Right.
But you have to look at why things happen. And we generically throw things around. And I think sometimes we need to be a little more careful than that. I think Jared Goff is a mediocre quarterback. He's not a good quarterback. Mm. I would say he is a good backup. He's not. I mean, Wolford outplayed him. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt that. I'm trying to be gentle, and I probably shouldn't. I think Jared Goff isn't a starting quarterback in this league. Mm-hmm. And I think the Rams have made that decision, and that's why Matt Stafford's here and Jared Goff is not.
Right.
And I think if you go up and down, they need a lot of things in L.A. They're not a finished product. I mean, they need to work on their offensive line. I think they have absolutely got to find somebody to hit the quarterback, although Leonard Floyd was a nice pickup for them. But, I think defense, they've got to get better, and I think they have enough crew at wide receiver and tight end that they're going to be just fine. Just fine. Blake says, what do you guys think about the Jets? I don't know that that's enough of an organization to keep Zach Wilson on his feet. Well, funny, talking about the pre-show meeting today. Jake also brought this up in the pre-show meeting today.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah, which is, can the Jets be a place where Zach Wilson or any quarterback goes and wins? And I don't think, until they show us that they can win, I don't think they're going to win.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds idiot-like or simplistic, but I'm no simp. The Jets haven't won recently. And until they show that they can win, I just don't think that that's a great fit for any quarterback.
Yeah, it's a mentality thing. I think it's a mentality thing with the front office and in that organization. I mean, it's great that, there's people comparing, Zach Wilson to, Joe Montana or whatever. But at the end of the day, you can't be, the second coming of Joe Montana if you don't have protection and 4 seconds to read the defense, And to me, I look back and I think about all these guys that have gone through that organization at that position, and these are guys that should have been better. You look at Darnold, he's going to Carolina. Does he have success in Carolina? And if he does, that's an indictment on the Jets, because the Jets had a guy, and Sam Darnold, who's clearly capable. They just are not capable of developing him, and that is my fear for Zach Wilson. The guy has the ability, he has it within him to go out and be a Hall of Fame level quarterback when it's all said and done. And your first 5 years in a bad organization has a real ability to derail that, and that's what I don't want to see happen.
Yeah, Marcus says it's all good that you guys say the Rams change quarterbacks, but if they can't run, that quarterback's going to get crushed. They can, look, Cam Akers, why Cam Akers is a good back. I look at Darrell Henderson, he's a good back. They have more than enough. And by the way, if you can keep the wide receivers, if you can keep guys like Woods, Kupp, don't forget they brought in Deshaun Jackson, who does one thing, and that's run deep sideline routes. I mean, Woods, Jefferson, Kupp, Higbee at tight end. I think you have the weapons on offense for the Rams are not the issue. It is the line, and it is consistency in that defense. I wouldn't worry about the offense, Marcus. I just wouldn't. Sean says, I completely agree with Jake. That was a great decision by the Rams. Nothing against Robert Saleh, the head coach of the Jets. I think they should have signed an offensive-minded head coach. Well, I said that from the beginning.
Yeah,
that's why Darnold's not there anymore, because, they're going defense, and they're going to draft a young quarterback.
Yep.
And what that says to you is they're not going to win for 2 years.
But the good news for Zach Wilson, for all you BYU fans out there, is if you have a great defense, you're going to get the ball back more. And that just means more development for Zach Wilson during the season.
Yeah, Steve wants to know about Sean McVay. Steve says, when does Sean McVay get, quote-unquote, put on the clock? Well, I think he's on the clock now.
Do you, though?
Yes, absolutely I do. I think if they don't have a much better year, you went and made significant changes to this organization over the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. You traded your two linchpin offensive players in Todd Gurley and Jared Goff, and now you've completely changed the identity of this offense. Mm-hmm. And by the way, you're wasting the best years of Aaron Donald's career. And I think you're in a situation where your expectation was you were going to win Super Bowls, and you haven't won a Super Bowl.
And you've only been to one.
You need to go and win the Super Bowl.
And
now.
by the way, you only got to that one because of a very questionable call.
Yeah, I do think, is he going to be fired if they don't win a Super Bowl this year? I don't know. Ask me what the result was. Why? Are they a sub-500 team or a 500 team? Yeah, he's probably going to be looked at real hard.
Yeah.
As he should be. It's only organizations who don't win, and I'll point to the Chicago Bears. You suck, you don't win. You gave away an entire lifetime of draft picks to get Mitchell Trubisky, who's now the backup in Buffalo, and you still kept your job. That's why the Bears suck. That's why the Jets suck. That's why Cincinnati, go on and on. How did Cleveland come up out of the ashes? Well, They completely changed the way they do business.
Yep. And
the Rams completely changed the way they did business when they hired McVay and moved to L.A. and fired Jeff Fisher. And
the one thing that I would say is 100% I agree with you, but I think that the thing that separates the great organizations, not just the product on the field, but the organizational product overall, is the willingness not to be emotional about players and people.
Yes.
You have to just say, hey, this is where we are. This is where we want to go. Can you take us there? Has the performance and has the quality you've been bringing to the job every day been what we need it to be? For Jared Goff, that answer is no. For Todd Gurley, your knee means the answer is no. You know what I mean? So it's so funny how the NFL is capable of being cold-blooded with football players, but when it comes to Sean McVay, when it comes to, Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy, oh yeah, we're going to keep those guys on. We're going to keep those guys on. Okay, well then you're going to keep those guys on and you're going to continue to be a 6-win football team.
Correct.
And that's as simple as it is.
Pete says, what do you guys think about the Eagles and the Patriots? I don't know what the Eagles are doing at quarterback. I mean, again, bad teams have instability at the quarterback. Teams that win have one guy, he's their number one, and it's not in question. Who's the starting quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles? Jared Stidham? I don't know. I look at Jalen Hurts. He should have been, but Doug Peterson probably got fired for that decision. I think the Eagles have to make a decision at quarterback, and then let's talk about what they're going to do. The Patriots, I mean, speaking of the Niners, I mean, they stole Kendrick Bourne. I think they're much better on the outside.
Yeah.
N'Keal Harry, I think, has to step up and be healthy and be a legitimate, operator there. But Nelson Aguilar is a nice little pickup for them. I think they're better, but what do we not know about the New England Patriots? Do they have a quality quarterback? Do they have somebody that can stand under center and make a throw?
By the way, there's no better example in the league of building a dynasty than the Patriots. We can all agree on that. And the one piece that they don't have now is some guy named Tom Brady who's in Tampa who just won a Super Bowl. So
Cam Newton's their guy now, and I think everybody realizes he's not their guy. And I think they're going to trade up, and Justin Fields is that guy that's going to fall.
I think if you're the Patriots, the real question is how long is Bill going to stay around? Are we talking 5 more years? Are we talking, are you talking about still being a coach 10 years from now? Like I can't imagine that he's got 10 years left in the league.
No.
So if he's leaving the organization inside of 5 years, then I think that I don't know, man. I don't like the idea of committing to. Let's say that they went ahead and moved up in the draft and did some insane move and went after one of these young quarterbacks, and got one of those guys. And then Bill leaves 3 years from now. How is that setting the organization up for success in the long term? It's not.
It's not.
And that's why I say if you're a Patriots fan right now, you're in limbo. You guys have enjoyed 15 years or so or 12 years of success.
Unquestioned quality is what you've enjoyed.
Yeah, and now you gotta understand that you're probably in a window here for 5 years where you're just going to be average, and that's okay. It's okay to be average after you did what you did. You did something historic. So I think once Bill leaves, then the Patriots will get back to the business of winning.
Alex Granzini says, this is my first time watching live before I go to work. The Jazz need to be careful. Axel, Granzini. Axel, great to have you on the show. Appreciate you watching live. Give us a thumbs up while you're here and a subscribe. Yes, the Jazz need to be careful. Tonight's a must win, no doubt about that. Shall Mary buy... why am I always late? Well, because you don't click the notifications.
Yeah,
click
turn the
notification.
notifications on, dude.
YouTube will tell you that the Monty Show is live. Give us a thumbs up while you're here as well. Jimmy says, you guys nailed it on the 49ers. They made a decision to move on from Jimmy G, so move on. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. He's not your guy? Okay, cool.
You can't put him back on the field now. You can't do that.
All right, before we get out of here, we got to talk about Joe Rogan and this whole thing with vaccines. I don't know how many people saw this or heard this. Joe Rogan on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast on Spotify. This show, by the way, in all full disclosure, one of our biggest portals is Spotify. So we appreciate everything Spotify does. Joe Rogan is on Spotify. Joe Rogan made some comments yesterday that were shocking about whether or not 20-somethings in this country should get vaccines.
And people say, do you think it's safe to get vaccinated? I've said, yeah, I think for the most part it's safe to get vaccinated. I do. But if you're like 21 years old and you say to me, should I get vaccinated? I go, no. Yeah. Are you healthy? Are you a healthy person? Like, look, don't do anything stupid, but you should take care of yourself. You should, if you're a healthy person and you're exercising all the time and you're young and you're eating well, and like, I don't think you need to worry about this.
The Joe Rogan Experience on Spotify right there. I completely disagree with this. And we had an epic debate on this, and I would love to hear from all of you. Because I think this was a little reckless out of Joe Rogan. His primary audience, and it's 10 million per episode. This guy has a huge audience. His primary audience is 20-somethings.
Mm-hmm.
He appeals to that 18 to 34 dynamic massively. To tell that dynamic, hey, are you healthy? Like, first of all, how many 20-somethings are healthy, eat well, and work out all the time? There's some, but not a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, you're talking about the coronavirus, and you look at the numbers on the coronavirus. The age group that is spiking the most as far as positives and hospitalizations are 20-somethings because they take more risks. They go on spring break. They go to clubs. They go to parties. They go to college. They don't wear masks because it requires discipline, and you're more worried about getting laid than getting a mask. Like you're not worried about, hey, am I going to die? No, the coronavirus isn't going to kill me. I'm bulletproof. That's my biggest fear here, Jake. I do think this was reckless.
Yeah, I agree. It was reckless. I think the thing that I see so much right now in terms of the conversation that's being had about the coronavirus is that people want to say that, well, it's like what Joe just said. Well, you're a 20-something and you're really healthy. The coronavirus isn't going to kill you. He goes on in that clip to say that, his kids had coronavirus and it was nothing for them. It wasn't a big deal. And I mean, those are his words.
Who are not 20-somethings, by the way.
No, they're kids. They're kids.
I think
they're
his
youngsters.
oldest child is 14.
Yeah, so it's a different demographic, but at the same time, the sentiment is, and this is where I think he's flawed. The sentiment is oh well, because a 10-year-old or a 14-year-old wasn't affected as much by this. That means that 20-somethings, whether you're 28 or 21, don't need to take it. And my point is whether you believe. And this is something I've yet to see someone get by, even on Twitter last night when we were having this debate. I just truly believe that if you're a 20-something or you're the youngest person in your family and everybody's grown and everything, who cares what happens to you, right? If you don't think that the coronavirus is serious and it's not going to hurt you or whatever, you have that opinion, that's fine. You're entitled to that. But I just think it's messed up to make your significant other, your loved ones, your family who are all older than you pay the price for your dumb decisions. And that's what I can't get by. I'm fine in anything in life. I'm fine. If you want to go and do something because you want to do it and you're going to break your leg or you're going to get a concussion or you're going to get hospitalized because of the coronavirus, great. Go and do it. Take the risk. But don't make someone else pay the price. That's what I've always maintained.
Yeah, and I'm very much in the same place. And the other place that I go to is you're 20-something. Let's call it 25 years old, right in the middle. You're 25 years old. You have your whole life in front of you. Vaccines have not killed anybody, right? There have been some one-offs here. The J&J vaccine was paused. They thought there were blood clots. Turned out not to be the case. Like there have been some things. Okay, cool. Show me where mass amounts of people or huge amounts of people have died or suffered from getting a coronavirus vaccine. Doesn't happen. Hasn't happened. Science says it's not going to happen. So, why wouldn't you? When you're 25 years old, hopefully you have 65, 70 years to live. Why would you risk this?
Yeah.
Why would you risk this, in fact, knowing that the long-term effects of coronavirus are things like, impacting your brain function, these long-haul symptoms that more and more and more people, including 20-somethings on spring break, they're studying this group of spring breakers that now has long-haul coronavirus symptoms. It can wreck your life. It can kill you. It's people who don't know that they have a predisposition to diabetes, like all of these things. And the other thing is, do you not see that there are millions of people around the world that have died from this? And it's not just, well, you're 20-something, you're eating while you're working out. Because I'm telling you, there are more 20-somethings not working out and not eating well than there are working out and eating well.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you risk this? Why would you take this chance when it's free to get vaccinated and you know that the vaccines work? There are massive studies that are out now that talk about the vaccine and how well it works. Why would you not get vaccinated?
Yeah.
And this goes back to the Donald Trump thing. Donald Trump was telling people, oh, don't get vaccinated and the vaccines and this and that. What did he do in secret at the White House on his last day in office? He got vaccinated. Why? Well, because he knows that's the right thing to do for just about every age group. And it just is so frustrating to me that there is this sect of the population that 2 weeks from now we're gonna pass the tipping point where there's going to be more vaccine available than people who want to get vaccinated. For this simple idea that, oh, Bill Gates put computer tracking chips in the vaccines. No evidence of that. That is a QAnon conspiracy theory. Oh, the vaccines do more harm than good. They're poisoning you. Where do you get that idea? Where do you get that idea that they're poisoning you? There's no evidence of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yet we're willing to risk people's lives. And as you said, your sphere, the people around you, the people that you love and you hold dear, that's who you're risking. Because let's go with the Rogan theory that, hey, I'm a 20-something and, yeah, I'm bulletproof. It's not going to get me. Yeah, I might get it, but I'll have a headache. That's what Rogan said. Oh, my kid had a headache for a day. My 8-year-old had a headache for a day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Let's say that happens. But what happened to your grandma? What happened to your mom? What happened to your girlfriend? What happened to your girlfriend's parents?
Yeah.
What happened to your best friend who's got diabetes? What happened to your best friend who's got asthma? You know, do you not think these things through when you... to me, that's why it's reckless.
It's a selfish act. I mean, that's just what it is. It's selfish, and I'm sure I don't have the ability to read all the comments in our YouTube section, but I would be willing to put good money on the idea that we have people in the comments saying something to the effect of, oh, well, if the vaccines work and grandma got vaccinated, why do I need to get the vaccine? Well, the reason you need to get the vaccine is because why wouldn't you? It's the ethical thing to do. It's the right thing to do. You're so concerned about not getting it and dying on this hill. Why don't you just get it, put it to bed, and not have to worry about it anymore? Why are people so hell-bent on having this conversation and fighting the fight? If you want to die on the hill, fine. But I'm not going to feel sorry for your ass when you're in the hospital because you didn't get the vaccine and now you're paying the price.
Yeah, I don't suffer fools on Twitter said, no high horse. It's very simple. Get vaccine if you're worried. I did. If you do, then go on with your normal life. Wear a mask if you're worried. Well, it's like this thing with Tucker Carlson the other day. God, Tucker Carlson is an idiot. And so many people follow him word for word. Tucker Carlson is telling people to call the police and call child services on parents who have a mask on their kid in public because it's child abuse. Like, why would you not want people to wear a mask when we have a massive pandemic that is not over yet, that's not nearly over? And we as a country are finally starting to see cases decline. And we're in a place where we could have herd immunity by summer.
Mm-hmm.
But because of guys like Tucker Carlson, people will stop wearing masks.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me. That's what I don't understand. I really just don't get it. You know, like all of these, like Josh, this guy Josh on Twitter. It doesn't matter who gets the vaccine and when. This is here forever. It's not polio. This is flu-like virus, and thus will be here forever. That's just not true. It may live forever, absolutely. The polio virus lives forever in certain countries, right? But if you get vaccinated and you get the booster, because we're all going to need a booster next summer, if you get vaccinated and you get the booster and you act responsibly to take care of others, not yourself, take care of others, that's how you eliminate the coronavirus from killing hundreds of thousands of millions of people, not only in this country, but around the world. And it's like, oh, but it's silence. And come on. You know, we
put so much effort into trying to say, well, we shouldn't take the vaccine or this or that or the other, when if you would just take it, you wouldn't have to have the conversation anymore. Yeah.
Stevie says, it's my right to do what I want. Why do we have to continually ask if our rights are being breached? Okay, cool, man. Your right is not to get a shot. Your right is not to wear a mask. Do you not care about the people around you? This is what I always say about the a-hole drivers on the road. Yeah, hey, don't use a turn signal, but hey, when you run into that car next to you, you're going to get out and complain that they're at fault.
Yeah, let's be really clear on this. I love this argument. So yes, it is your right not to get the vaccine and not to wear a mask, right? But then are you also condoning the idea that you're passing it to other people who are going to be very much affected by it? So, yeah, cool. Be Mr. America. Be Mr. Hey, my rights are everything. But then if you're going to be that guy, you need to own the fact and you need to be accountable for the fact that you're passing this virus to a bunch of other people who potentially could be adversely affected severely, like could be affected really badly. You need to own that then if you're gonna have that stance.
Yeah, it's amazing. Mighty Rhiannon says young people need to get a vaccine. Young people can spread it to others who are at risk, and also that spread gives virus more chance to mutate and get worse. Young people are the preeminent spreaders of the coronavirus.
By the way, it should be said, for those of you who are new to the show, I had coronavirus in December. I took the J&J vaccine. So I had the virus. I know what it's like. I took the J&J vaccine. I know what it's like to go through it. And all I'm telling you is there's zero reason not to go and get a vaccine. Simple as that.
Yeah, it's shocking. And this goes on. JC, good morning. Good to see you as always. COVID shots will be yearly. Pfizer is asking people to get a third shot within 12 months. Yes.
Yep.
It's going to be yearly. I care about you all, but I don't want that liquid tech in my body. But then you have to insulate yourself. If you're here saying, hey, I care about you, but I'm not getting the vaccine, A, you and I can never hang out, unfortunately. And B, you better be prepared to wear a mask for the rest of your corona existence. Because if you're not going to get the vaccine, you are always going to be at risk and you are always going to be a risk. And you need to get that. Mighty Rhiannon also says folks should deal with the relatively minor side effects of the vaccine and care about other people that might die from the spread. I had minor side effects. I had a migraine headache after both shots. I had incredible shakes. And I've told this story. The funny thing is me and my wife had a tremendous fight the day that I got my second vaccine. Like, I couldn't even argue because I could not control my jaw from shaking and my body from shaking. It was crazy. But I had minor side effects, and that was it. The next day, I was 100%. So there you I'm not going to keep reading the comments. I appreciate everybody who comments. Please give us a thumbs up on this video and give us a subscribe. This Xbox right here, this Series S Xbox, you SOB, is going to be given away on this show as soon as we get to 500 subscribers. We're at 454 right now. So give us a subscribe. Take a screenshot that you are subscribed. Tag it on Twitter. Put that photo on Twitter. Tag The Monty Show. Tag SLC Supercars, and you'll be entered to win this Xbox right here. Tomorrow, a massive day of NBA on this show. Will the Jazz beat the Kings? Yes, I'm saying they will. Jake?
Yes, they will.
You're gonna take the Jazz to win. Okay, good. Friday night's gonna be lit in Phoenix. Until tomorrow, say go get 'em, Bogey.
Go get him, Bogey.